Hi, my name is Martha Jensen, and during this presentation I'm going to talk about what I learned in Health Science 410 Issues with Aging here at UWSP. During the first course of the semester, basically the first half, we talked about the chapters in the book, and during the first chapter, which focused most on the nation's elders and the facts that surrounded them, I found most interesting the fact that there was still ageism nowadays. Most of the time you think that discrimination is gone the way of the past and that it no longer exists in our society, but we found that to be not true, considering many people still discriminate on the elderly population, which is age 65 and older. And if that is true, that'll only get worse, considering our population is just getting older and older, and the baby boomers will be reaching that age shortly. Also, I thought it was surprising that many of the elderly population had one chronic illness or more at the same time. I just assumed that many of them were healthier than that, considering the lifestyle they used to lead, hardworking, always on the go, doing things, no technology, not a sedentary lifestyle. I assumed that that population was much more healthy than they actually are. Next, I learned some stuff in Chapter 2, which was aging theories. I was very surprised to learn that the theoretical lifespan of the human is 115 to 120 years. To me, that seemed extravagant and extremely long, considering the lifespan nowadays is roughly about 80 years old for both females and males. Also, I was surprised to learn that short people live longer. I am a tall individual, so I find that fact to be a little bit sad, because I didn't know that body height really depicted anything. I was also surprised to learn that those who are in a companionship or a marriage later in life live longer as well, that it has a great improvement on how long you live your life. Also, the rate of life aging theory, I was one who believed, well, still believe, that there really is no way to qualify how long you're going to live. You live however long God lets you. And basically, this theory says that there's a finite amount of life, and every negative thing you do, or every positive thing you do, affects the amount of life you're going to live. So if you smoke, you're going to live shorter, than those who don't. Okay, next I learned about the home safety inspection quiz. I learned how unsafe my living environment is, considering there's no carbon monoxide detector or a ladder. So basically, if a fire were to happen, I'd have to jump, which wouldn't be pleasant, and if there was carbon monoxide, I'd have no way of really knowing what was going on. I also learned a lot from Dr. F's presentation about environment and how that impacts those who have Alzheimer's. I always thought that bright colors and patterns were a good thing, that when you have Alzheimer's, that bright colors would draw your attention to things to help you remember, but it turns out that is absolutely not the case. Muted colors and colors that are neutral, which don't draw their attention away from their activities and don't draw their attention and distract what they're already trying to do. It's better to go with muted colors, like I said. Also, the story that we heard from Dr. F and Nance about the carpet as sand, I found really surprising. I didn't think that carpet was something that was super scary for Alzheimer's patients. I didn't know that it was something that was important to note, the color of the carpet. So that was something interesting to learn too. During Dr. S's presentation on elderly medication, I learned a lot because I'm a CNA who also administers drugs and pills to the patients on my rounds and on my shift. I learned a little bit about drug-on-drug interactions just based on my own life, but the drugs that I take on a daily basis, and I learned that some don't mix well, but I learned a lot more on what medications they should take and what they shouldn't take, and also about the metabolism. I learned that if I give too much or too little, it can be detrimental to their health and affect their quality of care and things that my job is meant to be, to make sure that the quality of life is as perfect as possible. During my presentation, which was about Dr. Euthanasia and death and dying, I learned about just how few people actually use physician-assisted suicide. Thought it would be a lot higher than what the number was. I learned that in 2013 it was less than 100, and also that only 3 states are legalized, the main one being Oregon, because they have the most they were the first ones, I guess, to have it legalized, and they have a huge impact on if future states do it. And I also thought it was surprising and actually really sad that the cost of extending life and making sure hospice, for example, was like $15,000 to $20,000 a person, while the cost of the drug itself was like $15 or $20. I also learned a lot from Miss Tao's presentation about the Hmong culture. I learned more about the history, about how the oppression that they had in China, Laos, and Thailand, and how they ended up here in America, specifically in the Wausau area. And I also just marveled at how strict their culture still is, about how they believe that the sons should take care of their parents, not the daughters, when in our culture, daughters are known as more of the caregivers and in the caregiving role, just based on basically their gender instead of tradition. That concludes what I learned in the course. Now we'll talk about how I apply it in the future. I'm currently a CNA, and I learned a lot about diabetes and how important it is for the elderly to maintain their life, and I learned just how prevalent it is and how much more prevalent it will become in the next years. I learned about the environment and how important it is that I create a safe one for them, and how important it is that when they have Alzheimer's that I take that even more into consideration than I already have. My major is healthcare administration, so ideally I'd like to become a healthcare administrator. And I learned a lot about family conflict and how it was important that I don't put my personal beliefs and my issues into the ring. I make sure that the family is taken care of and that I maintain professionalism in the face of the conflict that they have. And I also learned all about the different age groups and specifically all the ethnic groups, about how different they all are and how important it is that I maintain professionalism and I make sure that their rights and beliefs are taken care of. Well, that's my presentation. Thank you for listening about what I learned in Health Science 410.